be right back.
Take your time. We get paid by the hour. All right. We got some people coming in, several note takers again. We got recordings and note takers. It's almost like you guys think what I'm going to say is going to be valuable. And you'll have to pardon, I've got some sort of nasty little bug crawling through my upper respiratory system, so my voice cuts out from time to time. So I brought some visuals today. That'll help. I also have a sick toddler, but his mom is home, so she's taking care of that.
Nice. What part of the world are you in, Justin?
I'm in Topeka, Kansas, right smack dab in the middle of the country.
Oh,
Like,
very cool.
it does not get more flyover country than Topeka, Kansas.
I believe that I'm over in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, I moved here from Denver. I lived in Five Points.
Oh, sweet. Okay. I'm right next to Empire Field
Uh,
over, what is it, Highlands area, I guess technically. Yeah.
yeah, I literally, I was living in Samaritan House, and like, I thought foolishly that when I got enough money from cold calling for a service that I was going to be able to afford Denver prices, but it's like, nah, we'll move back to Kansas. So that's how I got out of the homeless shelter the second time.
Yeah, Denver
Smiled and
prices
dialed.
are ridiculous. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, everywhere prices are ridiculous, but Denver is insane. So they
What
got,
kind of,
go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna ask, what kind of cold calling were you?
I was doing B2B cold calling as a service. That's my 22-year career before I got into AI, which is why I built an AI cold caller as our first tool. So
Nice. I was over at Marcus and Millichap cold calling. So smile and dial.
smile and dial all day.
Yeah.
Unless you got this going on with your voice, then you're gonna have to take the day off. 200 dials a day. I've done 600,000 plus dials in my career.
Wow.
Led teams and audited 1.3 million dials. So when I decided to build a cold caller, everybody that knew me is like, yeah. And then none of them bought it. None of them. So, all right. We still got some people coming in, maybe. All
Yep,
right.
should be pretty good.
All right. And today's module is going to be on marketing, which I look at marketing and sales as two sides of the same coin. They are not the same thing, guys. Sales is about bringing deals in the door. Marketing is about getting your name out there. And yes, marketing can help bring deals in the door. It greases the wheels for sales, but you also need sales to generate the funds for most marketing initiatives. And since most of us are in startup bootstrap mode, excuse me, most of us are in startup or bootstrap mode. My thought is let's focus on the organic marketing aspect, the thing that you don't have to pay for. And because we are AI automation tools users, let's go over some automated organic marketing tips. So, and I'm going to give away the secret sauce, guys. I'm going to let you into the back end and see all of the AI powered marketing automations that I run and how you can use those to benefit your growth and your business. Um, oh, Josiah's got an overlapping meeting. Um, one of the things to keep in mind is though I'm a sales guy and most of this is going to be about outbound mastery, there is a reason to get your marketing set up. And the reason to get your marketing set up is because when you call somebody and they've at least heard your name or seen your content, it's easier to get that conversation going, especially if you've established a bit of authority in the space. John George, Dan Lohman, myself, Terrell. I know several guys in here on my LinkedIn that have definitely established themselves as authority in the space. So when they call, even within somebody within their network, they're definitely going to get oh yeah, you know what you're talking about, which is a lot better position to start from. So there are three basic types. Oh, I guess I should share my screen. That would help, Justin. Maybe. Again, I apologize for the voice cutting out. There are two types of marketing. There's organic and paid. We're going to focus on organic because organic is free, really free. It's not a cost to get it to run, but organic requires things like social. My handwriting looks worse on a computer than it does in real life. I didn't think that was possible. Social, blogs, and the big one that everybody's heard of and most people don't know, SEO. And because we are in the world of AI, SEO also needs to coincide with AEO. And if you haven't heard of AEO yet, then I don't know how long you've been in this group, but I'm going to assume not long because most of the people in this group are nose deep in AI all the time. AEO is Ask Engine Optimization, which is discussing how things like Siri or Alexa will find you. And it is by making sure that your keyword optimization is actually phrased the way that people speak and ask questions, because we don't go to Siri and go details on such and such. We go, what are these things? How do I do this? Right. So you want to make sure that you've got some of your SEO optimized for very specific questions rather than just the keywords. So when it comes to SEO, one of the things I like to keep in mind is delete all this stuff. God, that O looks horrible. All right. One of the things I like to keep in mind is that there are three types of SEO. There is on page, off page, and technical. And this is going to be foundational, guys. Once you get this set up, all of the other stuff can be easier to fall into place. On page is the words of your content. Does it have the right keyword in it at the right occurrence? It varies from 2% to 3.5% occurrence in the words, which is kind of silly, but that's how that works. Off page is, are there other articles, are there other content that links back to your page that relates to the same keyword? Technical is in the code. It is the meta tags, the headings, all of that. If you've got all three of these working right, everything goes good. So I'm going to real quickly show you guys my search console, right? I submitted my sitemap for Firebringer AI on November 6th. I didn't know I needed to do that. But as you can see, I kind of had a little bit. I had 20 impressions coming in, da da da. But now we have 180 ranking phrases. So every time somebody searches one of these 180 phrases, we do show up in the Google SERPs. Many of them are lower level, but I think I counted them at 32 that are in the top 10, which is the front page, right? So one of my favorites right now that we're really plugging is windsurf as a no code, right? We got 5 clicks from that. We're a 6th position. The reason that we've got that is because I have automated my on site, which is my blogs, and my off page. And just so you guys can see, the last one in this automation is 322 keyword phrases that we are writing a blog about every day, right? I have 40 done every hour because 45 minutes is the timeout for a make automation. So I do about 40 every hour, rotating through 8 hours to get all 322 out. And then we actually set it up so that there is, since we're using WordPress, there's an RSS feed, and it takes a recent blog entry, the most recent from the time that this operation runs, and then it runs it through our assistants to write a blog post for Blogger. This is clearly a different post than our actual blog. It does the same thing for Facebook, LinkedIn, Medium, and Reddit. Now, Medium may or may not be no follow. The information varies on that. It looks like they change back and forth. No follow used to be absolutely pointless, but because AI is using large language models now, or search engines rather are using large language models, it actually does carry a little bit of back juice. So every single time it posts one of these, Reddit is a do follow link and it submits a post. Let's go to the history real quick. It submits this post. And in it, you see I've got a link to the blog related to the keyword. Not only that, but every time my post is made on Reddit, it also creates a backlink to my main page from my user account, right? So all of those backlinks add juice. So if we go back to my search console and we look at links, we've got 74, 84 external links. Most of them are from Reddit. It doesn't get all the links, but it gets most of them. So we've got links upon links upon links backlinking. So that takes care of your SEO. And by doing the Reddit post, by doing the Reddit post as well as LinkedIn, Facebook, Blogger, not only are we building those backlinks and not only are we doing our on-site and building the keyword optimization, but we are very, very much showing authority because each of those blogs is written in a way that showcases that we know what we're talking about when it comes to AI automation, right? Which is why one of the keywords that we rank for is AI automation, just in general, AI automation. We're like seventh on Google search for AI automation, and that's helpful, right? Um, that allows for quite a bit of traction because when I call somebody or when my AI calls somebody or when I email somebody, there's a very high likelihood they may search us or they may search our services. And when they see, hey, these guys are on the front page of Google for, multiple things that I'm searching for, that helps establish the credibility. Or if they search for us directly, Firebringer AI, and they see all of our LinkedIn and all of our blogger posts and all of that, it allows them to understand that we have credibility by default. Does that make sense to everybody? So that is the reason that I wanted to go over marketing as a second standpoint. Right, Steve Roberts. So I'm going to go into the chat here. It looks like not totally free as your time is worth something, but if we automate it, it's leveraging the automation to save us the time, right? That's why we build these automations. Because one, it is saving us a lot of time. If I wrote 322 blog entries and 15 backlink posts a day, I wouldn't have time to do anything else. But with the AI, I set it up once in about an hour and a half, all of those systems, it's done. I don't have to do it anymore. It is a little operationally expensive. I run through a lot of operations for my blog posts, but it's worth it. John George busted my balls about my handwriting. How many websites is this across? Yeah, that's just my one site. That's Firebringer AI. That is why we rank. That is why people find us. That is why we get traffic. And it is also why when they get a call or an email, It's also why I occasionally get inbound leads, which is something that is
Yeah.
unusual to me.
Yeah, sure. Uh,
Do you have a question, Benjamin? Okay. Um, so if you set this up initially before you start doing outreach, this will be incredibly valuable because it does take some time for the marketing to start to have an impact. But if you set up the automation, set them to run and get them going, and the marketing is being done consistently as you start your outreach and your cold outreach, it will generate a lot more warmth and it will lead to inbound leads. I've got 3 clients that have closed that were all inbound leads, right? My outbound leads are still in flux. Most of them ghosted on me after agreeing, but my inbound leads have closed, and those only came from the marketing. So I
Justin, I
got,
got a question if I can.
yes.
Where out of the three, I think it was technical and the other two, where to start? Like, if you were suggesting, okay, guys, you're gonna go and do this, where do you start out of those three?
So the technical is kind of the necessary starting point because you have to build your website first, right? And when you're building your website, you want to make sure you include that technical SEO. But you also, once you've got the website built and the technical SEO applied to your main site and you automate the blogs, you want to make sure that includes the technical, but they should all three be going at the same time. So you should be getting every blog that's created should have proper meta tags and headers. And then every backlink that's created should link to one of your blogs. If those are running simultaneously or concurrently, that's going to be what leads to faster ranking. Because, guys, I think we'd ranked for 75 words by the second week. That's insane from an SEO standpoint. I was never an SEO expert, but I know a lot of them. And to be able to rank faster than 2 months for more than 10 words and to be able to have words on the front page within a couple of months is impressive to them, those SEO experts,
I agree.
right?
Being
That was going to be my second question. It's like, how far ahead do we need to get on this before we start outreach? So I guess you're saying a few months.
No, 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 no. I would say start the automation marketing first and then start your outreach because your outreach is going to be ongoing as well. But if you've got the marketing automation, then as you get further into the outreach, you're going to get more and more stuff coming in. Don't delay on the outreach just because you only started your marketing last week. The biggest delay in your outreach should be warming up your inboxes, and that's about 2 weeks.
Okay, got you. Thanks.
Okay, Jean Noel, you were trying to.
Yeah, can you go back a little bit to what you do with the make scenarios? Because there's a lot of stuff happening there. It's super fast. And just wondering, I'm just trying to
Absolutely. So,
sounds so great. I mean, it looks like wow.
so our first make scenario that we focus on is our on-page blog. Now we use WordPress for our site. We've built some custom plugins, but this one right here is actually messaging assistants. Each of the assistants is a specialist. So it takes the keyword phrase and writes a hook based on the data. And then it takes the information from the hook and writes the first paragraph, right? So each one actually does a very specialized task. Hook, first paragraph, intermediate arguments, contrary arguments, and then I think this one writes the conclusion. No,
Hmm.
this one converts it to Justin's voice. So that's my humanizer, which prevents it from using the same repetitive language that LLMs are famous for. And then once that's all done, it creates a title. Why are you not loading? Oh, so this is the one that actually does the SEO, on-page SEO. So the title is actually one of these assistants. But I have several assistants that specialize. So hook, first paragraph, intermediate, conclusion, title, Justin's voice, and then we transfer it into structured text so we can input it into the blog. Right. Now,
Um,
most people would even add an image generator of some sort so that every blog can have an image as well. But if
mhm.
we go look at my sitemap, I get 1,000 pages per post sitemap. I'm up to 4. If I refresh this, it should go up from 630. Yeah, I'm almost to a 5th sitemap. And every time I get a sitemap, I have to go submit it here because that's how Google knows to look through the pages on that sitemap.
Yeah.
Right? Does that all make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's great.
And then I created specialist assistants for, long form LinkedIn content. I created a special assistant for Facebook content. I you the more you have hyper specialized assistants or GPTs with a system prompt specifically for that thing, and you want to run as many of them through a humanizer. My humanizer is available on my YouTube channel, guys, that you can get the full prompt and system to create your own Jean Noel's voice, Chase's voice that will make it right like you consistently.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. Have you found a way to do to automate like internal linking to those blog?
Internal links. So there's some degree of that I can do. 1 second.
When is this finals and once we take them up this I presume your preference would be the Cody's not after again, right?
He can hang out as long as it's kept. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So the question was internal linking. That one, I actually am working on programmatic SEO websites that I'm adding to that so that we can have more of that internal linking as well as more of the
Right.
technical SEO. And we're going to implement that all together. But currently, I don't have a lot of internal linking because that is a bit of a challenge
Yeah, it is.
with
To
the
automate
methodology
this
that
is,
we're doing.
yeah. And you have several of those SEO scenarios.
I I
What's
have that set up because I don't have a really reliable way for it to run through the entire list without trying to do the whole list at once, which is too much. So I actually have it
I see.
broken up into 40 entries from that. And Benjamin just bounced out. He had a question. Um, but I have 40 segments at a time, and it runs that every hour so that it's not overloading with the 45-minute limitation. You cannot run an operation. You cannot run an operation on make for more than 45 minutes. It will stop it. So I'd get the same 40 keywords over and over again, or I can break it up into sections. That's why I've done it that way.
Ah, got it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And then Chase was asking about warming up inboxes. Essentially, what you want to do when you're doing cold email outreach is you want to buy a handful of domains that are similar to your domain, create a couple of inboxes, a couple of email accounts at each one, and then either send them to somebody who knows you and will answer that email. Start with 5 and then do 10 and then do 50 so that you can do the larger amounts without immediately getting flagged for spam. You want to kind of limit it to a couple of hundred emails a day from each email account. And did Benjamin hop back in? Doesn't look like it. Anybody else have any questions?
Yep, Ben's
Yeah,
back.
Oh, Ben.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Hi, Justin. Thank you for this presentation. That's awesome. What I wanted to ask is, so you're not writing a blog post at all. It's all AI, right?
Yes, it is OpenAI writing a blog post based on the keyword. We had
Oh
initially
my
done
God.
it from an RSS feed for the blog post, but occasionally things would show up that weren't related and that would cause problems. So we just went with isolated keyword phrases and then I
Hmm.
alter the list as needed. But OpenAI writes the blog post and then I run it through a humanizer so it looks like my style of speech and writing.
Okay, gotcha. And okay, so I want to ask you this. I have a friend who is a beast at SEO. He does a black hat SEO for the gambling. So it's like it's way harder uh, than for like AI. And I believe that with what you said and with his skills, I believe that I could like rank very high. How can I? But he's not like tech savvy. I mean, he's tech savvy, but not with AI. So he wouldn't be able to write like anything that's technical. So with that said, how do you think I can like partner with this guy so he can like handle my SEO?
So
Or I don't
here's
need this guy at all
so
because I can write blog posts.
anybody who's played with the prompt creator that I initially created and then John George turned into an actual web app. You can give your AI the context to know and to have the knowledge that your friend has. You basically just need to have your friend create a document that explains what their steps and knowledge and understanding are, and then feed it into GPT-o1 and say,
Hmm.
write a system prompt based on this information, and then plug that system prompt into an assistant and then call that assistant in your make. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Th This app that you just mentioned, is it available like anywhere in the community?
The system prompts.
Yeah, like the system from what you just mentioned, like
Yeah,
from
John
John.
George made it open source. Like you can, if you go look at his YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, or several places throughout the Discord chat, you will find where to go to the sales bot prompt creator. That's how we structured a sales bot, but you're going to want to do something different for SEO, black hat SEO, or marketing. You're wanting to provide the large language model with a framework and a knowledge base to understand what its task is. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, so I will ask again. So my friend, you said I can like give him this app and I would
No,
just
no, no, no,
have
no.
no.
Have him write a document, have him write down steps, processes, things that he thinks if he were to write a guide for you to do the SEO things that he does, have him do
Okay.
that. Then take that SEO, that document that he wrote, and just feed it to O1, feed it to Claude, give it like go into a text prompt for a completion and say, turn this into a system prompt, and it will turn it
Okay.
into a system prompt that you can then put into an assistant in your dashboard on OpenAI and then call that assistant to make sure that it's using basically you've turned your friend's knowledge into an AI bot.
Okay. And then this app that John just shared, like where does it come into play within this process?
That is specific to a sales bot. So if you were to want to use email or phone AI and you want it to sell, uh, you can give it information to this app that John just posted, and it will create the system prompt. So you can say your sales assistant that you can use as the system prompt to write the email or to be the voice AI's knowledge
Okay.
base.
So it's not, it's doesn't have anything to do with the SEO stuff you were
No,
talking
but
about.
it's
Oh, okay.
you'll see some prompt structure and you'll get some understanding of like a really good system prompt structure and how these frameworks are built for the AI, but it's specific to sales.
Okay. So all my friend has to do is just write a document and then I don't need him anymore. That's my understanding.
I mean, essentially, yes. I wouldn't
Okay.
necessarily tell him that way, but
Of course.
the sales bot. John George no longer needs me to help him create a sales bot because he has this sales prompt that will follow spin selling methodology and knows how to overcome objections and knows all these things. That was the system prompt that we put into CallForge, and John George put it into his voice system. And compared to the original prompt, it's significantly better at selling. And we've got a video of John George and I testing out his original prompt and then the sales bot prompt. And like the original prompt was fairly weak, it just went into pitching, whereas the sales bot prompt doesn't really give you a chance to say no and ask you a bunch of questions and guide you to agreeing to an appointment. So
Awesome.
the more you give the AI large language model as information to work from, the frameworks that if you're in sales, you've got sales frameworks. If you're in marketing, you've got marketing frameworks. If you give the AI those frameworks, it can work from them very well.
Hmm.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, AI is very good at following frameworks, from what I understand.
If you give it very explicit and detailed instructions, it follows them very well. Most of
Gotcha.
the
Thank
time.
you.
Occasionally it still gets it wrong, but it's stupid AI at this point. It's
Yeah.
getting smarter. So, any other questions? Haven't heard from Muhammad or McHenry or Steve or Leah or Louis.
Uh, I mean, I guess I have a question.
Mhm.
So, I was wondering, like you said, the more you add to the prompt for that AI, isn't it or doesn't it get worse because it gets lost in the middle, like some information?
That depends on the way that you structure it. So and actually let's go ahead and do a real quick walkthrough of the sales bot prompts just because we can and we've got a little bit of time. So we'll go ahead and go to I can't get back to the chat. I think it was in here.
And I think some guidelines are kind of helpful for thinking through this. So, like if you have 20, I mean, like well over 20 pages of information,
Right.
that can be difficult and it could like lower the accuracy or reliability of an AI agent. Like if you're putting hundreds of pages in, for example, you'll likely encounter lost in the middle. But what
So
Justin is talking about is actually a little different. It's not just storing information. He's talking about the frameworks people use to approach problems. And so when you think of like how humans teach each other, it's the same. We teach through process and the algorithm that someone follows to complete a task. So it's actually much more effective to teach the algorithm or the approach to solve a problem than it is to just give an input and an output and say, figure out all the in between, which is kind of, I suppose, the easier approach.
right. So the reason that we do it, and so let me give you real quick a showcase. So you'd put your OpenAI API key if you're going to have it do a voice. I always use 4.0 Mini because it's cheaper. Uh, shush, shush. Okay. So you put in your AI representative company name, industry, da da da, and it takes that and creates the context. That was originally a make automation that used a Google form. I don't think I changed it. Uh, Inactive scenarios, all scenarios, inactive scenarios, sales bot. It's got to be an active scenario. Where did it go? Sales bot. There we go. AI sales bot prompt creator. So I had originally built it as a make automation where you put your information into a Google form. And what it does is it makes it fit the model, load up, of the original prompt that I had built, right? So this is a fairly long and detailed prompt as a system prompt, but it gives lots of good examples and such. So if we were to use this system prompt, come on. So we go back over here and we just go to our OpenAI. Okay. I want to create a system prompt using that specializes in IDA marketing framework and practices tactics similar to Dan Glazer. So Dan Kennedy and Bill Glazer. Make the system prompt align with the following structure used for a sales framework prompt, but aligned specifically to marketing. And then we paste this in. Now it's going to output as a little fly buzzes around me here. Right. So it's going to give us a style. It's going to give us the framework. It's going to give it task. Right. So it's writing this system prompt. And then we can copy this system prompt into an assistant. And now we have a marketing expert in the item framework that likes to be similar to Dan Kennedy and Bill Glazer in what it outputs. Does that make sense? Right. So you can create these assistants to have knowledge bases and understanding for the specialized tasks that you need, whether it's sales, marketing, or SEO. And that will allow you to simplify the work. It's if you put a little more work into the upfront, and I would go through that, make sure that that prompt has everything that I need and doesn't have extraneous things, because it's stupid AI. It's going to put out wrong stuff. But I can manually go through and say, okay, we need to remove this, we need to add this, put that system prompt into an assistant. And then anytime I need to write a marketing piece, a sales letter, a video sales letter, I just give it that assistant to write the script, to write the letter. Right. So with SEO, it would be a similar tactic with just about anything that you would need to do. Give it the framework, give it the right context to operate from.
How much modification do you usually do after outputting the prompt from the framework?
Um, it's a guess and check thing. Like I'll make the moderation, pull a couple of sentences, maybe 10 minutes of maximum like alteration and editing, and then run it a few times and make sure I'm getting the outputs that I want. It's very rare once I start getting the outputs that I want that I have to moderate it after that. Like the
Mm,
sales bot creator that John George turned into a web app, it's set. You do what you want. It'll put out a very, very successfully working sales bot so that when it does calls, it will follow the right framework for those calls. Does that make sense? You get it
yeah.
once you get it right, you don't need to mess with it. And once you've got it right, you've automated significant portions of your efforts.
Mm-hmm. 'Cause I was really thinking about doing creating one for like LinkedIn posts as well. So
So what I might do is take like some of your LinkedIn influencers posts that you want to have the success of, put those into a Google Doc or something, and like get as much information as you can, feed that to Chat GPT. I would usually use like O1, use something with better reasoning, or a Claude, maybe a Haiku, or Opus, put those in there and have it give you the system prompt, and then go through that system prompt and make sure everything aligns with what you want. Put that system prompt into whatever large language model you want to use, get a few outputs and see what needs adjusted from there. You're looking at 30 to 45 minutes of work, maybe a couple of hours max, to have something that will save you amounts of work that cannot be measured from that point forward.
that sounds unbelievable. I mean,
We
that's
live in a world with AI and aliens now, so
I'm just worried, like, do you think these social media platforms are going to catch up and be able to catch, like, kind of grade those posts that might be AI generated?
right now AI detectors suck. They really suck. They will routinely say if you put out human a 100% human document, human written document that has no grammatical flaws, it will read that as potential AI over and over again. It will read the same document as different varying amounts of AI content. AI detectors suck right now. So humanizer tools are a scam because they're beating a tool that's not a good tool, which is why most of the companies that were using AI detectors have stopped. There's going to be some things that they're going to implement down the road, like watermarking, but it's going to be impossible to keep up. It's an arms race. It's always an arms race. They'll get better detectors. We'll get better tools for beating the detectors. Right. Until the quantum computing thing really takes off, then it's going to be a whole new game because quantum computers are going to be able to dissect crypto. They're going to be able to break the blockchain easy. So but it's an arms race. And yes, they're going to keep trying to make things to beat it and to detect it. Right now, they're not expressly outlawing or forbidding AI content so long as the content has value. And that's where to come from it. If your content has value, it doesn't matter if a human wrote it or an AI wrote it. Is it
Yep,
valuable content matters?
absolutely. Yeah. Google is a really good playground for this, right? Like they deal with AI written content probably more than anyone. So the way that they're approaching it is just like Justin said, as long as it's valuable content, um, then you're good to go. I think it's interesting though, like I was talking to a bunch of SEO agencies about this like a week ago, and they were talking about like for some industries, because there's a lot more content and you write the same content using AI, Google is detecting that as unvaluable because there's lots of other similar sources saying the same thing. So if you say the same thing in any sort of way as an existing popular set of content, um, it will be deemed unvaluable. It's really just fresh takes on things and approaches to thinking about things, which it could be around breaking news. I mean, how are you going to? I know people are like, well, everything is already on the internet. Well, that's not true. There's plenty of new news all the time, right? And then similarly, just wording things in a unique way from a unique perspective. Like you see a lot of really smart people do this. They'll take concepts from like a different area of study and then apply it to the current field of study. So like I'm sure you could apply microbiology approaches to AI content writing. And if you simply had that spin on it and that approach, talking it through the lens of how a microbiologist talks about the problems that they solve, but in a meaningful way for people learning about AI, there you go, right? Like that's going to be probably seen as unique content because how many times has that been done? So yeah,
Well, and
you
if
could
you have a
definitely.
writing style, if you like the AI voice, Justin's voice assistant and call that I use in my content, it makes it fit my style. So I'm not repeating other people. I'm not replicating other people. I'm not replicating even other AI generated content because it takes all of that AI content and structures it into the way that I've written for years and years. And it does things that like my Justin's voice AI is routinely under 40% by AI detectors, but it's 100% AI generated. And the reason that it's routinely under 40% is because it doesn't look like what OpenAI puts out at base. It doesn't look like what Claude puts out at base. It looks like what Justin writes because it uses the style and approach that Justin uses. And then as Tyrell saying, like if you apply a different twist, look at it from a different angle, try contrarian, like, and you can prompt your AI to do those things, and it'll blow it away. So it really is about how valuable is the content, how unique is the content. Guys, there's a reason I have 30 some odd front page ranking keyword phrases in this space where a lot of people are using AI. I'm using AI, but I'm ranking for a lot of freaking phrases. And part of it is because I know how to look for long tail phrases. The other part of it is my blogs are unique and published in mass and have backlinks. So, which is the whole point of the module today. If you set up these systems, set them and forget them, get them right. Make sure they're working the right way, but then you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can move on to your outbound.
Yep. One question, if I may, going back to
No, you can't. Okay, going back
to the sales bot that John George and you worked on. I saw that there's a VAPI API, so I'm assuming that this is meant to actually do outbound calls. And
um, I think John George built the VAPI into it just to play with and test the actual
uh,
speech. He had originally built it as part of his inbound, or he was building an inbound sales bot, and I gave the prompt away, the prompt framework away, and he ran with it, and then we collaborated on creating a couple of things within that space. But it really is just to give it for us, it was built for outbound. Like Call Forge runs off of this prompt as its central system prompt, so that
so,
when our users use it, they can have a prompt that actually can sell their services.
because one of the reasons why I got interested in AI voice agents is that I thought that it's a product that could actually sell itself. If you could have outbound call agents actually calling and they are making the point of the sales, then it would be, that's the perfect business, actually.
It is a demo on the cold call, and it is the first product in history that literally sells itself. It
Exactly.
is not hyperbole in this case.
That's
Yes,
exactly the
that's
point that got me like, okay, I need to do this. But
yes.
all my attempts so far have not met, in that area at least, have not met any kind of success. It's hard to go through the voicemail systems. It's at least in my experience, and I'm like super interested in hearing anything you found otherwise. But in my experience, it's not working yet. The technology either is not there, or it's not, or my script was wrong, or even though I got a few that said, "Oh yeah, that sounds really interesting," and then the voice agent glitched. That was the end of that. But that was a
Yeah.
few months ago, so I don't know.
So I'm gonna shoot over my demo page link so that you can see the progress. And this is my favorite part of what we put on our demo page is you can see from like the early days to the most recent days and how those calls sound. And some of them were role plays with me, some of them were me having friends called. There's a few that we've done that we've recorded and sent to like edited out names and personal identifying information, and then put up on different places on, I think on my YouTube, on the Firebringer AI YouTube. But like it's the voicemail detection is hit or miss. I'll admit it does frequently hang up on a person because it thinks their voicemail. Very rarely does it keep recording to a voicemail when it's a voicemail. But when it gets answered by a gatekeeper, we oftentimes get like passed to the decision maker. I've
How do
had
you do
human call reps that could not get past the gatekeeper. My AI system gets past the gatekeeper. So
How do you do that? I guess that's that's really my
check
question.
the demo. I just put it in the chat.
Okay.
I've got several demos on the YouTube channel. I've got several demos on that page that showcase like we have struggled. Our first cold call made with CallForge before it was even called CallForge, when Firebringer AI was Edge AI staffing. was a 27-second latency. And now it's real time. It was real time before OpenAI's real time was out. We were still using 11 labs. We had latency of sub 0.7 seconds. Like we had people saying we should add some latency. We should add a little pause so that it seems like the AI is thinking before responding. And I'm like, we spent all this time reducing the latency. You're telling us to add it back in. So, but check out those demos. Like it took a lot of work. It was 9 months of code, hard code being written before we got to this point. There were no code tools when we started, right? Make automations existed, but they weren't being used the way they are. I don't think Vappy existed when we started writing the code, not in the way that it does. 11 Labs was new. OpenAI was just kind of taking the public's awareness. We started this project initially in September of 23, right?
What
So
libraries did you use for the code?
it's Django code. Um, I'm not a coder. I'm not a developer. I'm turning into one now, but when I started, it was I need somebody who can write code because I know how to do a cold call. I know I can make an AI do a good cold call, but I need to find somebody who can code this tool, and that's my CTO, Matt. And Matt found our senior developer, Wajahat, and that's how the tool got built. And the rest is, insanity and history at the same time. Like, and just as an aside, guys, if you've got something that you want to accomplish that you know you can accomplish that you've got, but you need a resource, doesn't necessarily require money. Sometimes it just requires being able to pitch the vision, to sell the vision, to sell the idea. That's why I've had a team with, we're bootstrapped. We have no funding. We have no VC. We have no angels. We've been hit or miss on clients. So, like, we are not at revenue. We're getting closer, but we're not there. But I've had people working for me for little to no money because they're sold on the vision, not because they're getting paid. Does that make sense? Keep that in mind as you're building your business. I think Terrell can probably speak to the occasional ability to, get people on board with the idea and be willing to work in circumstances where maybe even a paycheck wouldn't be enough. So, Moen, you're unmuted. You got a question for me?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, what are you doing, or is there any tips we can do to leverage some video content? I'll unmute
Uh,
myself.
I do a lot of YouTube content as much as I can. And that's also part of our SEO because every video you have on YouTube, Google knows about. And whatever keywords are in there, Google knows about. And if you can backlink to your site and your user account has your site, that helps your SEO. They actually feed each other back and forth. So if you have a link to your YouTube video, we're still figuring out the YouTube content. That's not the space I come from. So if you're in the Discord rooms late at night, there's oftentimes chats between John Park and John George and Dan Lohman and myself trying to figure out what's a good YouTube thumbnail, what's a good video concept. So it's like when you're a solopreneur, especially in this field, you've kind of got to learn a lot of skills quickly or be able to leverage other people's skills. And even if you leverage other people's skills, you kind of have to understand what the hell they're talking about. So, any other questions as we kind of wrap up here? I have a question then. Did you guys actually get some good shit out of this today?
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's my
Yeah.
goal. As long as we do that, then the rest is just
But
kind of moot.
Justin, as far as for the SEO stuff, you showed like, uh, well, what do you recommend like doing if we wanted to replicate that? Like, because you showed a lot of stuff.
I recommend doing exactly what I did. I Do you want me to send you the
Okay.
blueprints? Because I could do that too. Like
Yeah, why not? I'm not gonna say no.
I so Terrell, I'm gonna go ahead and set up the blueprints as a Git and then shoot it over to you, and then you can put that into the resources for this for the paid community.
Sweet.
So they'll have the ability to just import and customize and go from there. Because guys like, and I've told several people at this point, we are in the burgeoning state of an industry. Right now, collaboration is more advantageous to the industry than competition. Down the road, competition will actually be more advantageous to the industry. Right now, collaboration. The industry moves faster if we work together. So this group, this community gets all the secret sauce. That's been the way since I came into this community. And I'm going to keep it that way for a while longer yet because it's if, Moen and Chase and Ricardo have the ability to replicate what I'm doing and improve upon it, and then they share that improvement back and forth, we just keep getting better. So that's how I move forward.
That's awesome.
Really appreciate that, Justin.
So I'll put those blueprints into a folder, make sure they're all clearly indicated. The SEO on page, there's 8 of them. It's one cloned with a different timestamp and different chunk of the Google search or the Google sheet. But I'll put all those marketing blueprints together and put them into a file to get to Terrell.
And all we need to do is just like import and just run.
Well, you want to customize them to yours. So you want to use
Yeah.
your keywords on Google Sheets. You want to use your RSS feed. If you're not using a WordPress blog, you'll have to figure out a different way how to post it to your blog. But yeah, I might even
Wow,
draw up a README for you guys so that you have all the documentation to understand how the pieces work together and integrate.
that's crazy.
So that's probably a $10,000, $20,000 package that I'm just throwing at you.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, guys. If I'm willing to give this stuff away for free, I give away the gold for free all day. The platinum is going to cost you platinum prices. But what does the platinum look like if I'm giving this away as the free gold?
Hmm.
All right. Anything else? Anybody want? Any last questions as we get to our noon time and I go get ready to drink some hot tea?
Yeah, maybe one last one. Can you go back to what you mentioned about the LinkedIn stuff? Like if I wanted to like mimic someone that's doing good with AI on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so copy several of their successful posts, like copy and paste it into a Google Doc. Um, Go look up some like LinkedIn advice or tips or frameworks for content. Put that doc into a large language model with instructions like create a system prompt to output this kind of content with my voice or something to that effect. Like, guys, when you have open AI alone, when you have Chat GPT alone, you have so much at your fingertips. Like the possibilities are limited by your imagination. So I'm using Windsurf as a no-code tool daily and succeeding at it. Like it's not meant that to be used that way, but I'm using it that way. And part of the reason is because I give OpenAI instructions. I want to build this, create a series of prompts for my AI coding tool. Right. You have so much power because you know how to use OpenAI. Nobody else. The people who don't know how to use it, the people who are scared of it, they don't understand how easy it is, but like we've been playing with it so much, there's so much potential for its use that it's literally limited by your imagination. So don't be limited in your imagination. I'm
Love
gonna
it.
I'm gonna call it. Terrell, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Justin. That was awesome. I didn't know you had so many automations going.